Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about One Piece Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with Zoro's circumstances. We finally get a peek into his past. When I brought this up last episode, I was like, I thought this was going to be the episode where his past came up and ends up being that case. We meet him and Kuina and kind of learn about his dream and obviously the sword he wields, why it's so significant to him, because it's tied to someone that was important to him, a friend, a rival that is now gone, and he's carrying on the torch of becoming the greatest swordsman, not only for himself. He wanted to do that anyway, but then he wants to carry on that torch because it isn't just his dream. He's carrying on someone else's dream as well, in Kuina's, and I think that's so beautiful. And it's really sad. I couldn't remember, like I said, the Kuina stuff I remembered bits and pieces of it, but I was like, yeah, I know she dies, but I couldn't remember how. I thought she got sick, but maybe she didn't. Once again, I don't know how much that's didn't change it for the live action, but I'm like, I thought she got sick because I couldn't remember how she died, but I just knew that she died, and that's why it's so significant for Zoro to carry on that dream, because he's got to carry on for her, who she can't live it. And I think that's the beautiful thing. Even just kind of jumping ahead a little bit to the end, when he's laying in a hammock, what does he do? The one sword he keeps by his side is hers, because she's always with him. Like, her spirit lives on with him, so when he accomplishes that dream, she's right by his side, you know? But it's like, yeah, like, because he started off wanting to crush her because, like, she's the one person he couldn't be. And Zoro is, I think it's applicable to that entire crew. They're all competitive in their own way, and they never want to lose to anyone. They never want to back down. But Zoro in particular, it's like, right, if I want to be the greatest, I can't lose to anyone. But he kept losing to Kuina because she was more skilled than him. But even she admitted, like, right, given enough time, you'll be faster than me, stronger than me, taller than me. I'm able to win now because of my skills, but eventually nature will, like, outclass, you will all end up outclassing me, outpacing me, just because that's how nature works. Like, yes, a girl can beat a boy, but a woman can never beat a man. But for Zoro, it's like, don't say something stupid like that. He's like, the fact of the matter is, if we train every day, we can be the best of the best. And one of us can become the greatest swordsman or swordswoman. Like, because if you give up now, it's obviously a dream of yours to be the best as well. And if you give up now, then what was the point of everything we went through, all the training? It will amount to nothing if you're just willing to cast aside that dream. Let's better each other, you know. Every day I promise to kick your butt, you know, on my path to become the greatest swordsman, you know. And it's he found a friend, because I don't think maybe the anime covers it a little bit more, because that feels like that could easily be like a filler thing of like them expanding upon that, because to my recollection, we never, like, other than like his and Kuina's relationship, like Zoro, you never really learned what his relationship is like with the rest of his classmates. It just, like, Kuina's the only person he got close to, and I think it's significant in that regard. Just kind of like, once again, there's so many parallels of like Nami and Kaya, and I think a little bit of Usopp and Zoro, and even Usopp and Luffy, of, hey, in the case of Zoro, like, it seemed like Kuina wasn't just his rival, that's the only friend he really had. Someone he could compete with, someone who can understand him. And they had this dream that they shared together, so. And I also remember that situation, like, once again, I don't remember if it was an actual whale situation. I feel like he did get thrown down in a well in the anime. Once again, I'm referencing anime because that's all I've seen. I've never read the manga. But the fact is that I vaguely feel like I remember him taking the swords and using them to climb his way out of the well. Am I making that up? I super could be. I'm not. I think I could easily be mixing and matching, or completely making that up, because I could be pulling that from something else I remember watching. But I feel like I remember Zoro using the swords to climb up. You know, almost like using the swords and stabbing them into the well, kind of like climbing gear. But maybe I'm just full of shit on that. But I could have sworn that's how he got. Maybe he did just straight up climb out of the well. And I do love the perspective of, like, yes, just as we finish that flashback, what happens? He climbs out of the well. I even love later on, it's like, Luffy's like, hey, Zoro, you found me. He's like, actually, no, I was actually trying to find my way back to the house. I was like, yes! because him and his, once again, horrendous sense of direction. Last episode, I was like, it felt like they were teasing that, and it's like, yeah, they teased it this episode, so it's like, okay, so, yeah, they're definitely leaning into it. Once again, they're just not making too much of a point of it, but it's like, oh, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you know, you know. But I just thought that was dope. Obviously, we're also picking up with Usopp bringing Kobe and the others to at the same time, like Kuro and his crew are trying to get rid of Luffy, dispose of his body, because Luffy's stomach got him in trouble again. Sometimes it's his best friend, sometimes it's his worst enemy. Because no one told him to sit there and eat the whole soup. I love that. What really got Luffy was just like, oh, me. I was like, oh, I ate all that soup, but there was no meat. You know, I think that's kind of the only thing that was on Luffy's mind in that regard. But once again, you cry wolf so much, no one believes you when the time comes. So obviously, Kuro was able to just kind of like dissuade him, being like, no one, this kid, he's sick. The fact is, he's been like this ever since his mom passed away. And it's like, but to be fair, he did mention Luffy by name. So he was right. So there should have been like, okay, there's some validity. Like, yeah, you might be a liar, but you did still point us in the direction of Luffy, because no one, because the moment they mentioned Straw Hat, he was like, wait, you mean Luffy? It's like, yes. I love that. He was like, yeah, oh, that's my other best friend. It's like, oh, I love you so much, Usopp. But it's like, that should have been enough to be like, well, he knew Luffy by name, because obviously Luffy doesn't have a wanted poster at this point in time. So, like, you wouldn't automatically know Luffy's name by, but it's like, I guess they're like, right, he was right about this, but lied about everything else. And it's like, Kobe couldn't believe him, because it's like, right, there's no evidence here. He felt like something was off, but he just couldn't quite, he wasn't willing to take that chance without evidence. It is that interesting thing of like Kobe's having a hard time like taking a leap of faith in some regards. And I mean, that's also part of him like learning, and I think kind of trying to break himself of like, he's not confident at this point in time. Obviously that will change, but at this point in the story, he's not confident in himself at all. And he's second guessing himself. And as he says later on, overthinking everything. So they walked away with Luffy and left Kuro to deal with Kaya, which Usopp tried to warn her, but she didn't want to listen, because it's like, right, I enjoyed your stories because they were fun, but this one about Kuro, the man who's looked after me, who's taken care of me, I don't believe you, because it's like, yes, I accept all your stories because I know they're fault, but I'm not going to like listen to you on this one. And for Usopp, it's like, right, I've run away every time. I'm going to be brave in this moment, and I'm not going to leave your side until you're safe. And so he stays. Luckily, Nami shows up after overhearing everything and finding out the truth about Kuro and them, and about them poisoning her, Kaya. And for Usopp to be like, I've given you that tea. I mean, we've seen him like prepare the tea and like hand it to her, like, oh, you need some of your tea. Like, I've handed you some of that. And that also makes Kuro that much of a garbage human being. It's like, one thing, it's like, right, like I said, One Piece's villains are the most villainous villains you'll find. You're just like, God, you guys are god awful. He was poisoning her for years. He was playing the long game until she turned 18. They did talk about it last episode, but I did kind of forget about that angle of like, right, she has to, like, everything legally goes to her from her parents once she turns 18, and that's when Kuro's like, cool, I'll kill her. I set up all the paperwork so that everything comes to me when she's dead. And his reasoning for it's like, right, I've had to fight tooth and nail. I made a name for myself as a pirate, but the fact of the matter is, what did that gain me? Nothing but a blade ready to be put in my back, a noose ready to be put around my neck by the Marines. Like, it's like, I'm always just going to be, hunted for the rest of my life. So it's like, and especially because he looked like a lot of Nami's issues with Kaya initially, he kind of equates into, it's like, right, you've had all these complaints, you had all this. It's easy for someone who has so much to complain. It's like, you kind of don't have a leg to stand on, you duplicitous, shitty person, like, shut up. But it's like, I had to listen to you whine incessantly about everything. Oh, I miss my mom and dad. It's just like, oh, what a dick. And at the same time, Zoro and Luffy were trying to make their way to the house, and obviously Kobe was trying to stop them, but it's like, right, I get you have to do your job, because right, you're a Marine, you're supposed to be helping the innocent, and Kaya is innocent, and I get it, you have to do your job, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go protect my friends, so do not get in my way. And that's one of the things I love. I mean, once again, stereotypical protagonist, shonen protagonist, but it's like, that's the thing about Luffy, how that shift in him happens. Like, he can be your lovable idiot, gullible goofball, but then he has his moments of when he steps up when it matters the most. It's like, right, he never wants to see anyone in trouble, especially when his friends are in trouble. His Nakama, it's like, that's when Luffy really kicks it into gear and he does his thing. They didn't obviously go over it, but it's like, well, luckily for Luffy, being a rubber boy helps out a lot with the whole eating all that poisonous food. I mean, maybe the manga focuses on it more, but I feel like the only time maybe I don't even remember the anime even covering this, because I feel like it's it's just maybe, like I said, maybe the manga covers it more about, like, right, they don't bring it up too much about Luffy's, it's not just his outward body, his entire body, including his organs, are rubber as well. That's why the second gear situation doesn't kill him like it would a normal human being, because his organs can compensate for, like, his heart in particular can compensate for, like, the massive amount of blood it's pumping. But I'm like, I feel like I remember reading that. I don't really remember the anime ever covering that, but I remember reading that, like, online. I don't know if that's like maybe the manga went specific about that, but it's like, I feel like it just doesn't come up that often. Like, yeah, like, internally he's made of rubber as well, so that benefits him a lot. So, I mean, he can puff up like a balloon, but you don't really cover the whole aspect of, like, his organs. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense too, especially because we know, like, there's the technique of Luffy's where he, like, balloons up and then he twists himself up, just kind of supercharge an attack. And I'm like, well, that would definitely have an impact on your organs if they weren't able to kind of stretch and flatten out like rubber, because that would definitely do something to your organs in the long run. I did also like Zoro's fight against, was it Sham and Bucci, about how that entire fight he never used Kuina's sword, because he made a point of just kind of like, right, almost like, you're not even worthy of me using these swords. Only like the moment he picked Kuina's sword back up, because I'm not going to say its name because I'm going to butcher it, but he immediately got it back after Shem had, like, thrown it into, like, a closet or whatever, and he picked it up and just put it back and fought them with his own two swords. It's like, you're not even worthy of me pulling out all three, I'll beat you in this regard without Kuina. So I think the flashbacks in particular made him go like, no, I'll handle this way. Whereas Luffy ended up going toe-to-toe against Kuro, who's just, once again trying to tell Luffy, like, right, you're talking about this life of freedom, forever being hunted, and can you really call that freedom? And it's like, right, you've been a pirate for a week, a month. How are you going to tell me what it means to be a pirate? I was a captain, and what did it earn me, He had kind of given up on, and he went after these ambitions. But for Luffy, it's like, a pirate who's willing to give up on their dreams don't even deserve to be called a pirate. You don't deserve to be called a pirate. Once again, I brought it up, like, the fight's happening in an enclosed space. I actually don't, like, obviously, once again, they end it with the signature thing of, like, his Gum Gum Bell, but I'm like, I don't remember how he did counter, like, Kuro's ability. They didn't make a whole point of it, but I'm like, wasn't that a Gum Gum? I don't think that was just a skill-based technique. It was a Gum Gum. I mean, not Gum Gum. It was a Devil Fruit ability, right? I'm fairly certain it's a Devil Fruit ability. But once again, they never made a point of it, like they did with, like they did with, obviously, Buggy. But, because, I mean, to be fair, he was, like, our first, like, outside of Luffy, first Devil Fruit user we got to meet, obviously. But I don't remember how Luffy dealt with that in, cause did his, I don't know if, like, was it Zoro or was it Luffy? Did one of them break the blades on his hands? I don't remember. I did appreciate, like, he kind of, like, obviously, it's like, he found out where you were and just like, right, I don't have to attack you directly. I just freaking curve my punch. Once again, I do like that it is a thing of, like, right, because we haven't really had an opportunity, like, to really, well, I mean, he's technically been doing the Gum Gum pistol the entire time, like, every time he kind of tried to kept hitting Kuro, but, and once again, I do appreciate they do kind of cut around, like, well, we don't always have to lean into Luffy's ability, just, like, once again, like, make him kind of, like, very agile, and he hops over the place kind of dodging Kuro's attacks, so I guess, like I said, maybe that's how it works in anime too, where, like, he would basically find out where Kuro was, and then he, like, curve his punch to him. But, like, they probably condensed that a lot more, because Kuro, obviously, in the fight, just did it once, and after getting knocked down, he just went after Luffy directly. But I think, like, because I think in anime, Luffy made it so, like, right, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, I'm going to be able to find you, and I'm going to be able to hit you, and you're not going to be able to kind of run from it. Maybe that's how that, once again, I don't remember. once again, for budgetary reasons, you got to like space that stuff out, and especially how you utilize it. So that's my thought process, but I don't remember. I really don't quite remember how that how, like I say, how that panned out. But like I said, maybe they like condensed it obviously for the show live action purposes. Like, but yeah, like that probably continued for a while before Kuro gave up on it, and then Luffy beat him with the Gum Gum Bell. But I was like, did he actually get away too? Does that mean he pops up later on and I just don't remember? Or do the Marines eventually capture him? Not unless that ends up being like is that a Baroque work thing that ends up happening? Like Kuro getting like, oh, he got away, but he comes back later on after the Baroque work kind of finds him and, spoilers, crocodile? Like, is that what ends up happening in that capacity? I don't remember. I don't think that ties into the Arlong stuff. I think that ties into the... Because I was like, yeah, because he gets away on the boat. I was like, is that what happened? I didn't remember he got away. I mean, his crew definitely got captured, but I don't remember him getting away. But now I'm like, yeah, there's no way I definitely don't remember him popping up later, but maybe he does, like, for a little bit. He's not like a main antagonist anymore, but I'm like, I'm trying to remember what happened to him. Our crew walked away successful and ended up walking away with the ship in hand, so... The going Mary. I'd forgotten about the going aspect of it, but it's like, is that really where... Because that's what I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, her butler's... The companion of hers, his name, the lawyer, was like, his name was Mary. I was like, wait, is that what... Once again, I didn't remember that's where the Mary got its name. I thought that was just a name they came out with. Not unless they tied that together in this, but maybe that was from... God, I kind of wish I had watched the anime beforehand, like rewatched earlier bits, but I'm also kind of glad I didn't. But I'm also kind of like, that's the problem. I had the same issue with Cowboy Bebop of like, I remember slight things. Obviously, I remember way more about One Piece, which I'm going to say some stuff later on. It goes like, yeah, I'm a complete fraud as a One Piece fan because I don't remember jack shit. But it's like, I definitely remember more early One Piece than I do Cowboy Bebop, you know? Which is saying a lot, considering Cowboy Bebop's only 26 episodes versus like the thousands of episodes that One Piece is. But once again, it's been years, so I do apologize for my ignorance and my misinformation, me being wrong in some capacity. But yeah, Luffy offers Usopp an opportunity to come along because it's like, right, need a sharpshooter on the team. But it's like, yeah, but I can't go. Like, I can't really imagine leaving my home behind. But it's like, it's not really much of a home anymore, considering like, well, no one in town really likes you. I feel like that turned around. They just didn't focus on it in live action, but I do think the town ended up having a very positive outlook on Usopp because he ended up making, like, no, he was right this time, and he ended up helping save the day and exposing Kuro for who he was. But I don't think they really made a point of it in this show. But maybe I'm giving the townsfolk too much more credit. Maybe that never even happened in the anime. But obviously he also didn't want to leave behind Kai. It's like, right, she needs me. But it's like, no, like... Now that she's free from Kuro, and she's kind of not allocated to her parents' dream anymore. It's like, right, they ran the shipyard. He's like, you're going to need my help running this. It's like, no, I think I'm going to follow my own dream. That was my parents' dream, and so I need you to go out there, you know, and tell me all the stories of Captain Usopp, the real ones this time. You know, it's time for us to both follow our dreams. And they kissed, and I was like, they never kissed, did they? I almost don't... I don't know, because it's like, I guess in my head I almost don't see Usopp being the guy to be like, oh, you know, having his hero moment of, you know, oh, kind of getting the girl in the end, but not really. But I'm trying to remember. I was like, I don't think that happened, but maybe it did, and I'm just not remembering. But I love Luffy just kind of being like, right, they both know I'm the captain right now. He's like, let them have their moment, dude. He's like, no, but I'm the captain, you know? Yeah, they've got their own ship. They're set in sail, and it's just like, yeah, everything did work out. Because I love when Kai offered the ship. Luffy's looking at Nami like, she's almost like, shut up and stop gloating. You know, it's like, right, it's not always going to be that way. You're not always going to be right. So enjoy it while it lasts. And Usopp making the Jolly Roger with his symbol, and like, yeah, and him fighting Luffy on the whole, like, right, I'm captain. It's like, yeah, you're so full of your own shit and your lies that you can't discern that from the truth anymore. It's like you've been smelling your own farts for so long. It's like, no, obviously I'm the captain. Like, I'm but him and Luffy arguing about it. But it's like, yeah, this is for Luffy. It's like, this is what it's all about. Friends and adventures. It's smooth sailing from here. And like always, Luffy has to open his big mouth and they get attacked by the Marines because Garp and the others had followed them. It's like, no, Kobe, you did what you did as a Marine. The lesson this time was you always have to have a backup plan. And because of that, you kind of put, all right, the Straw Hats know that the Marines are here. So they end up kind of scattering and trying to take off. And, now all we had to do was wait and jump on the opportunity to go after them. And then we get the reveal at the end where Luffy sees Garp and is like, Grandpa. And now I was like, this is where I was like, I'm such a fake One Piece fan. Obviously, the other episodes aren't even uploaded yet. So if I wanted to, I could make myself look better and just cut that out. Because in one of the episodes, I don't remember if it was 1 or 2, I knew he had a significant grandchild. But what I was doing, I was conflating his grandchild with being, I was like, oh, he has a specific granddaughter, doesn't he? I'm going to tell you who I'm blanking on her name. Once again, my so much One Piece knowledge just left my head. She's the Marine with glasses that she's the swordswoman who rolls with Smoker. Her and like Zoro meets her, they clash from time to time, and she reminds Zoro so much of Kuina, and that it's meant to be like that. But I was equating her as Garp's grand, because I knew he had a significant grandchild, but that's who I thought it was. I was like, oh, that's his granddaughter, right? I was like, oh my God, right, that's the complicated thing. Because for a second, I'm going to be real with you too, I couldn't fully remember Garp until they brought up the whole him being Luffy's grandfather. I was like, all right, that's who Garp is. Because I kept being like, Garp. Like, I felt like I knew the character, but it wasn't until then that I can now visualize Garp, what he looks like in the anime and the manga specific. I couldn't visualize what he looked like. Even though he looks directly, like his actor looks directly like him, obviously it's like One Piece has oddball proportions for some of its characters, and obviously like Garp is like massively tall. So, I mean, obviously he isn't the only one. There's plenty of like massively tall people in the One Piece universe, like Whitebeards and all that. But either way, that was kind of the neat place to kind of leave off that stinger. I was like, man, I completely forgot that was an episode too. And for Kobe to find out too, it's like, right, you being under his grandfather, it's perfect person to be under. It's like, obviously there's a lot of parallels between Luffy and his grandfather. Obviously we're going to get into a lot of that next episode. I'm curious like how much of that's going to, I don't know if that's going to be the entirety of next episode or not. You'd assume like they're going to probably, because I know, well, there's still 2 more things to get through. Because I know there's the Sanji and Don Krieg of it all. And then there's the Arlong. Because I know Arlong's going to be the conclusion of this season. Like I said, I'm still, having not seen anything, my theory, I was like, you're going to have to get like, Robin's going to have to make like a cameo appearance, right? Her or Crocodile. I could see like maybe you like hear them and don't necessarily see them or something, but I'm like, they have to make like a cameo appearance like at the end of like a post-credits thing for like the season finale. They have to, because like that, once again, that's like the next major arc after all of this. Maybe even get like a Chopper cameo, like kind of like setup and stuff like that. But very, very interested to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.